Hi, my name is Charity Luke, and I'm really bad at these sorts of things and don't really know how to do anything fancy with the camera, so I am just going to spend this time talking to you. I chose the Quaker value of integrity. For me, living a life of integrity has always been an important thing. I can actually look back and remember when it really developed in my life. I was about 7 years old, and we had just gotten to Belize, and we stopped at some, I think it was Mayan ruins or some sort of ruins that were there. And so it was kind of, this protected ground. And I had thrown a banana peel on the ground. And I remember the adults trying to figure out who had thrown it on the ground. And I lied about it. And through that whole process, it finally occurred to me what a silly thing it was for me to have lied about something like that. And that was kind of where that life of integrity kind of started to develop in me. And it has just continued to develop since then. Integrity, being true to who you are and being upfront about who you are and not trying to hide. Really, in order to have a life of integrity, you kind of have to have a life of transparency. Because if you're hiding something, then there's no possible way for you to live a life of integrity because, well, in order to hide something, you have to usually lies come in, and that's not being, full of integrity. And so you just really have to be open about who you are and not do things that you wouldn't want somebody to find out. Another part that came up for a life of integrity for me was in grade school. I had stolen a piece of bubble gum, and I started out of another kid's desk, and I felt really bad for it, and so I went and told on myself. And I've learned over the years that it's best for me to not do something that I could get in trouble for, or that's not right or full of integrity, because I will go and tell on myself. Another time, and this one's kind of sensitive here, in high school, I went with some friends and smoked some pot. And I was living with some guardians at the time, some foster parents who had taken me in. And I started driving home, and I felt really uncomfortable and just like I wasn't safe. And so I pulled over and I called, and their grown son was staying with them at that point too. And I just called and asked for them to send him to come and get me, and I told my guardian, I was just like, I'll tell you about it when I get there. And so when I got back to the house, I went and sat in her room with her and explained to her what had happened, and just told her that I had learned a lesson and talked about the lesson I had learned through it. And she thanked me for it and just told me, just instead of admonishing me and punishing me, it was more of a, recognizing the fact that I was a person of integrity. Another time in high school, I signed up for an essay contest, and when I got the subject matter, I realized that it wasn't really something I could write a good essay about, and I had a friend who offered to do it. And so I let him do it, and I turned it in, and it ate at me, and I ended up going back to the counselor and telling him that I wasn't the one who had written it. And then let's see, more recent, within the past week, last week, one of my main duties for a job is to transport kids in foster care. And I had gotten pulled over for speeding. It was 74 and a 55. And I hadn't printed out an updated insurance card. And so fortunately, the officer was kind and he let me off. But I still, next time I went into the office, I told my manager about it. And I told the kid's dad when I dropped the kid off that this had happened, because it's all about that, being transparent. And I really feel like that transparency and that integrity that I exhibit has a large part of why things tend to work out well for me. Because I've had people in some situations that they just couldn't believe how easy I had gotten off, from what they thought, or that things hadn't turned out in, as that things were as well as they were. And I think a large part of that is because of the fact that I am a person of integrity and I own up to my mistakes. In parenting, the other day I had a gut reaction kind of where I swatted my 5-year-old daughter on the bottom because she wasn't listening to me. And I noticed that it wasn't achieving the results that I wanted with getting her to do what she needed to do. And it just made her feel bad. And so I had a conversation with her and I told her that I had made a mistake and that I could have found better ways to get her to listen and I should have used those ways. And, you know, that creates treating my kids that way and being real and honest with them and stuff. It creates a really good relationship with them. And my daughter did what she needed to do at that point. I could go on with the things in my life that have built that integrity and shown that integrity and the results of it. The interactions that I have with people end up positive. And I am fully convinced that a large part of that is because of the integrity that I show. And I think it's really important to live that integrity. I would rather face punishment for something and own up to it and deal with it than to hide away and that just harbors shame, and that's not something that I want in my life. And so I will stand up for what is right and for truth and honesty, and I can forgive just about anything as long as you're honest with me about who you are.